What's up, guys? Jason Ward, Ward's Way to Fitness, coming at you with a little nutrition knowledge today. Asked in my Savage Tribe Facebook group, which is just a collection of all the people who have worked with me one-on-one or in small groups over the years, if I could do a post about calorie tracking apps, whether they're useful, some pros and cons, and then sort of my opinion in that particular realm. So first up, let's talk about the pros of fitness tracking apps. So let's talk about what fitness tracking apps are. That's probably a good place to start. So we're talking about calorie counting apps specifically. That's what people were asking. So stuff like MyFitnessPal, Lose It. There are a number of different other ones out there that are specific to different dietary styles. So you could also be using one of those perhaps. So like Stan Efferding has the Vertical Diet Tracker app. And there's probably a keto one out there. I'm sure there's all kinds of different ones. The question, of course, is like whether or not these are useful and do you need to be using them? And so let's talk pros and cons. So pros of utilizing these apps. It does create some awareness of what it is that you're eating. And if you're gonna succeed with your health and fitness goals, whether it be building muscle or losing fat, doesn't really matter. You need to be aware of what you're taking in so that if you are hitting a plateau, so if you stop losing weight or you stop gaining weight, then you know what you're doing, and then you can set up a game plan for what to do next to kickstart that process again, right? If you have no awareness of that, obviously you can't do that. So that's an area where these things can be useful. There's an element of accountability to it as well. So if you know you gotta log in and punch all of your food in all the time, and there's like a social aspect to some of these apps where other people can see what you're doing, this can help encourage you to stay true to your goals and continuing to work at them. So that's a great bonus. It gives you something measurable. So I already talked about how like being aware of your intake is helpful, but then taking something that you can measure and then manage to figure out what to do for your next step. So it gives you a target. So you know how many calories you're eating, maybe carbs, proteins, fats, if you want to look into it that far as well. And then they're pretty easy to use, to be honest. Like you type in the food that you're eating, or in some apps you can scan a barcode and it will come up with whatever food it is that you're eating. So it's pretty easy to find the foods that you're eating and track them. So those are my pros for these apps. The cons list. Let's talk a little bit about how accurate they are. So one of the problems people will present when they're utilizing apps like this and they're not getting the progress that they want is that the app's not accurate. And there is some truth to that. The database has what's the average intake of that particular food. If you didn't measure it properly, if you didn't, or if it's just like, especially with like meats and vegetables and that sort of thing, like no two animals are exactly the same and no two fruits and vegetables are exactly the same. So those things will have slightly different macro breakdowns than might be reported in the app. Overall, you're only looking at maybe 20-25% margin of error, but that can add up if you're not consistently measuring in the same way. So that can be problematic for some people. So they can also become a little bit obsessive. So if you have the type of personality that tends to obsess about things or has trouble from a mental, psychological type of state, then it could become problematic for you. You may become obsessed with tracking the food, weighing the food. So people with eating disorders sometimes have issues like that. And if you're someone who's predisposed to that type of behavior, then you may not want to use an app to track your food intake. And then they can be time consuming. So you do have to set aside some time to punch all that information in so you know what you're eating. And for some people, it's just not worth it to spend that time on that particular task. So, do you have to use the apps? No, there's lots of ways that you can track what you're eating. You don't have to punch all that information into an app, but you should be practicing some sort of cognitive restraint if you are looking to gain or to lose body fat. If you're looking to gain muscle, you can probably be a little bit less specific. But if you're trying to gain lean mass without too much body fat, then you probably should have some sort of tracking in place. So honestly, for the most part, for most people, under most circumstances, I would say just listen to your satiety signals. So when your body tells you, okay, I've had enough, then you should stop. You don't have to keep eating past the point of being full. You don't have to eat 5-6 meals a day. Like, those things are not essential. If you listen to what your body is telling you, you will gradually become more aware of when you are actually hungry and when you actually require food. And that, for your long-term health and sanity, is probably better. If you have more specific goals, or your satiety signals are messed up because you've been yo-yo dieting for years, and this strategy may not work very well for you, and you may have to track for a little while just to get yourself into a habit of eating better. So I can, in the future, get into talking more about the calories, macros, and that sort of thing. If you guys would like to hear some more of my opinions on those matters, I will definitely be doing a talk on if it fits your macros as a dietary style at some point for my Wednesday talks. What diet is this Wednesdays? Look up for that one tomorrow. If you like the content, please like the video, subscribe, share, and if you have any further questions, you can follow the links down below to DM me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or I'll leave my email down there and you can email me as well. If you have any questions about fitness consulting or nutrition counseling, just let me know. All right? Well, have a great day, guys.